I tried. But, for a time, I thought, I'm going to be one of those people. I'm going to fix it from the inside out, right? Just like I said before, when I was in the accounting side of things, and that was my life, I'm going to learn how to fix it from the inside out. Bring in the knowledge that I have, make it better. Mm-hmm. But it didn't get better. And I became bitter, resentful, and tired. I was spiritually drained because I was spent all my time trying to defend my own spirituality and humanity, because they were saying both of them were unacceptable. And I also needed help from those outside the system to give me permission, because of the messed up and distorted and misaligned loyalty, to call what I was experiencing as abusive.
Wow. That's an element that I didn't expect you to mention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Because you didn't feel like you could get that. You don't feel like you couldn't get any of that truth within the system, could you?
Right. I could say I was hurt.
Yeah.
But again, I can't call it abusive because that's disloyal. Yeah. They wouldn't abuse.
Yeah.
No, it was abusive.
Which is why people have called spiritual abuse such an oxymoron, because spiritual is a wonderful thing and abuse is a terrible thing. How can they go together?
Right. But to say, yes, this does hit the litmus test of being abuse.
Yes. Yeah.
It does not need to be minimized.
Yeah.
It is serious.
Yeah.
Because church hurt, maybe not serious. Abuse, trauma, that's serious.
Hello, my friends and fellow soul defenders. My name is Kristy, and this is Soul Bruises, a podcast devoted to naming and addressing spiritual abuse. Whether this is your first time listening or you've been here before, I'm so glad you're with me. Spiritual abuse won't go away on its own. It takes many of us speaking up and refusing to accept harm done in God's name. This podcast is my contribution, and I'd love for you to join me in raising awareness and creating healthier, more honest communities of faith. We won't shy away from hard conversations here. I know these topics can stir up strong emotions or even painful memories, so please take care of yourself. If you need to pause or step away, that's okay. You're not alone, and I'm here to support you. I want to say a special hello to Soul Brews listeners in Sterling, Massachusetts, Kent, Ohio, Bismarck, North Dakota, and Upper Marlboro, Maryland. No matter where you're tuning in from, I hope you feel seen, loved, and supported. We're picking up where we left off after the last episode of an interview I did with Pastor and Chaplain Kristy Hodson. This is the conclusion of that interview. I hope you're able to listen to the previous 2 episodes for better context. I'm deeply grateful to Kristy Hodson and to others who courageously speak on behalf of so many, bringing hope and encouragement to those who may feel lost, discouraged, or pushed aside by a community that focuses more on outward behaviors than the intentions of the heart. What I hope you take away from this conversation is the reminder that you have purpose. You belong, and you are not stuck where you are. These episodes are dedicated to Kristy's dad. Sadly, Kristy's dad died unexpectedly shortly after this interview was recorded. This episode is dedicated to his memory. John Hodson Sr. was 73 years old.
You mentioned how high control religion in your life wanted you to simply fall in line, fearing that others might want to follow your example. Like you mentioned, the tattoo, the kids will want a tattoo. And you explained that things became more complicated when you became a pastor especially a female pastor in a patriarchal religion. Is there anything along that line that I want to share?
Well, I got a lot of criticism and pushback, just for speaking up. If I wanted to make a correction or try to get a change in language, just to be a little bit more inclusive. Yeah. This is a funny story. So we were at a pastor's meeting. I was the only woman in the room. Yeah. And someone comes up who was on our staff, who works there, did a presentation and said, "Good morning, gentlemen." And I said, "And lady."
Yes. I love it.
And, everybody started laughing, like, ha ha ha, that's Kristy, her and her big mouth. But it made them uncomfortable.
Yes. Yes.
That I would not let myself be erased.
Lowered. Yeah.
And it made them uncomfortable that I dared to say, "Hey, I'm going to correct you in real time in front of all our peers."
Yes. Yes.
Even though I know it wasn't meant maliciously, we need to change our language. We need to be aware.
Yeah. And so much of our actions start with language, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So part of the problem, why I was called militant, why people complained, why they criticized, part of my problem is I was not sorry that I did not fall into line. I was not sorry I didn't fit into their box. I was supposed to be humble and submissive and say, "Oh, thank you, sir, for putting me in my place. Let me scurry to it."
Wow.
But I didn't. And that's what they were upset about. So like when I was brought before one of the officers because I was wearing pants, their fix was for me to no longer wear pants on the platform. They did their part. They told me there was a problem with it. So it was up to me then to wear long skirts or whatever.
To make the change.
Yep. And I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was an unreasonable expectation. And that's where I went wrong. I did not allow myself to be pushed back into line. And that's because my personality, the things that I think that are important to me, my voice, my appearance, they were problems to be fixed. And I didn't fix them to their satisfaction.
Wow.
Because I said they're not problems to be fixed.
Yeah. And often if you give resistance, they don't have the script for that. So then you get a reactive response.
Being called a militant feminist to my face. Yes.
A reactive response or a dominating response, like I'm over you, you will submit to me, sort of feeling. So there's no like, we're on the same level playing field. Let's talk this over. Yeah.
Right. It was, "Hey, call me by my first name because we're peers, even though I'm your boss. But why are you not doing exactly what I want you to do?
Yeah. Why
are you not falling in line when I tell you you're wrong?"
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So your resistance truly revealed how they truly felt about you. But was it their reaction to your resistance that caused the deepest pain, or did it come from the fact that they didn't see you for who you were? They only saw the person they wanted you to be, the behaviors they wanted you to exhibit, and the opinions they wanted you to hold. And in the realm of being a woman pastor, you weren't allowed to say it hurts without being labeled a militant feminist or a complainer, right? Can you explain what happened if you pushed back?
So it was very much, if I pushed back, at one point in time, we were in a Zoom meeting, right? And there was misinformation in a slide. Basically what was being presented was that Gen Z, has no ethics and no values because they don't have a Bible as the basis for it, right? And this was a presentation that other pastors were talking about, saying how they really enjoyed a lot of the content and they wanted to share it with their church members, right? And I said, and another pastor had made some really brusque and harsh comments before, and that was his personality and no one said anything, right? That's just who he was. And I said, actually, that's not true. Because if you look at who's out there protesting in the streets, it's our Gen Z. They have a lot of values. They have ethics. Even if they're not coming from the same place you are, you can't say that they have zero ethics. That is 100% wrong and does a disservice. And afterwards, I got a call saying, how dare I confront this officer in front of everybody else?
Wow.
Because I needed to know my place, and it embarrassed him that I called him out and corrected him. And I did it nicely. But another person can literally have an argument with him, and that was fine. Because they did it all the time.
All it takes is a few conversations with Gen Z. I'm making a general statement here, but like the majority of them are very tuned into humanity.
Right.
They just, they don't always have the money to create things, but man, their passion is in that place.
Right. And the assumption there's only one place to get your values, right? And your ethics. But so I would speak up, and I'd be pulled up to the carpet, right? I need to know my place. Don't talk back. Your voice is not valid. Is what was said without being said. So please don't. Or that I didn't know what I was talking about. So dismissed. We would love it if you weren't here, is the feeling I got. Because you can't fit in, so why are you here?
But you're a human with real emotions. How do you feel like your highly controlling religious environment prepared you for processing these feelings? Because obviously they're creating an environment where even a strong person like yourself is having some really incredible emotions because it's just outright being mean.
I don't think it prepared me to feel my feelings. Right? To be able to name your feelings. One of the reasons why I read Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown when it came out is so that it would give me the language to name some of my feelings.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's been an ongoing journey. I would want to describe what was going on, rationalize them away, but not sit and feel with them.
Again, it's like putting language to our feelings. If I remember right, that at the start of it, she talks about how most of us think there's just sad, glad, or angry or something like that. And there was 80 some different emotions. So something you said really struck a chord with me about being in a highly controlled environment where the focus is primarily not solely on information, as if it's what matters most, yet as humans, we have this personal experience that touches the very core of our being. Do you think personally it's possible for a religion to even talk about emotions, or is it just an information thing? I
think we limit ourselves when we put spirituality in the box of religion. It is so much more than that. I think religion is one way to express part of your spirituality. It's not the be all and end all. And you often hear this, people say that they're spiritual but not religious. And you can be religious and not spiritual. As well.
Right.
But I think it's just such a bigger box.
Can you explain how this spirituality transcends religion and why this distinction can be so important?
For me, our spirituality goes to who we are at our core. Think of your soul. We talk about our soul, and that's our inner being, the who we are, the why we are, our sense of purpose. It's not beliefs or dogmas. It transcends all of that.
So, did you sometimes feel like your pain was met with quote unquote thoughts and prayers instead of like real emotional support from spiritual leaders?
I think definitely it's that's your problem. We're not going to do any action for it. So there's no consequences that are going to be meted out. And so you need to deal with this in your own spiritual life and come to terms with this is okay.
Okay.
So zero support. There's something that happened to me. In my 20s, my early 20s, I was working as an accountant, again, in the public sector, and I was looking into maybe helping being treasurer with the treasury for a church that I had recently started to go to. So they didn't really know me very well because it's a small Adventist community. The pastor knew some of my family, very charismatic guy. And he asked me to do something that I felt was financially unethical. And because I was exploring wanting to help.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I could tell anyone or that I would be taken seriously because this guy just was like, oh, that's not a problem. That's not going to be an issue. He'd been there forever. Everything he went was like, oh, if he says it's okay, it should be fine. Where I'm like, if I do this thing that I don't think is really on the up and up, it could actually hurt me professionally as well.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take that risk. And because I didn't feel like there was any support in the meeting where it took place, because I wasn't the only person where he asked me to do something, I'm like, that doesn't really sound right. I was getting pressure.
He was asking other people to do similar things? Or?
No, just for me, for this thing, because we were talking about this position.
Yeah.
And there was other people in the room who also didn't think it was an issue.
Okay.
But I thought it was an issue. It violated my ethical boundaries, didn't think it was right. And I thought it could impact my professional career. And because I wasn't taken seriously, if there was ever any discussion, this older gentleman who's of my parents' generation, they definitely believe him over this 20-something chick with, tattoos and wearing earrings to church and who thinks she's all that. So I just stopped going to church altogether.
Stopped going. Okay.
Because I knew my voice wasn't worth being heard.
Shoot.
Yeah. And so I just went out, worked, lived my life. And it was so freeing because I didn't have to look over my shoulder to see, oh, who's watching, who's going to report back that I'm not meeting this standard that the church has. Right. And yes, I missed out because I missed having spiritual discussions. I missed the community of a church, but I didn't feel safe going back to that place.
What might have changed that whole scenario? If you had the same pastor with the same charisma, what might have changed if you had some of the people around him? What if they were gave you support or said, or called out the unethicalness?
I think if someone said, wow, I totally get where you're coming from. I didn't see it that way, but I see how important this is to you. We'll take these 5 extra steps that you think we need to take first. I would have felt heard. I would have felt empowered. I would have felt that my voice mattered. So if there was another important thing that I needed to share, it wouldn't have felt like David and Goliath.
Wow.
It actually took me moving out of state and basically doing a complete restart for me to be ready to try to go back to church again and find that community.
Wow. Was that something you did within yourself or something you found?
Because I had also moved to a place where I didn't know anybody. And so I'm like, I only know people at work. I'm their boss. I'm a manager, so I can't be friends with everybody. Well, let me try the local churches and see. I love Sabbath school was my favorite part. I don't like hearing sermons. I like preaching them.
Me too.
But I don't like hearing
being
sermons.
Interactive, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I like where I can share my ideas and my thoughts and we can talk about it. Yeah. And so discussion-based, let me make that very clear, discussion-based Sabbath schools were what brought me back to church. And sometimes I would just go for that and not stay for the church service.
Okay.
Because I needed that to stretch my spiritual muscles and get me to critically think about what I was saying and keep developing and growing without the pat answers.
So it wasn't even your culture of going to church every Sabbath that brought you back. It was a true desire to still search for, the answers on things.
Yeah. A free exchange of ideas.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So let's step into an uncomfortable room for a bit.
Okay.
Soul Bruises is a podcast where spiritual abuse is exposed and discussed out loud. What seems to be the church's response to the term spiritual abuse?
It seems that the only abuse that's even considered a little bit taken seriously is if it's sexual abuse by someone in a church setting, especially children. I think it often gets overlooked, even if it's adults, and it is too often considered a consensual relationship, like an affair, but because of the power dynamic, and again, the spiritual abuse, you've just messed up someone's relationship with their church and their divine because of who you are and what your standing is in the church, or how, then that is not, you can't consent. And so I think really the only time that they listen and they hear spiritual abuse, they're really thinking like child sexual abuse.
Yeah. Because that one's pretty blunt. Like a child doesn't have the power over an adult. An adult obviously is committing a crime. They go to jail. It seems pretty cut and dry.
Right.
Awful. Terrible.
Or even if it's a child with another child, because I've seen that happen as well.
Yeah.
And then that's taken very seriously.
Yes. Yeah. But the other, it's like you said, defined.
It has to be criminal.
Yes.
For it to be taken seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and we do it too in domestic violence situations. They care about the physical pain. I don't know many times that someone's gone to jail for emotional or financial or social abuse or any of those other kinds of abuses, right?
There are some people I think it's in other countries that are exploring the idea of it being something punitive. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, do you feel like that's the way a church should go? Or do you feel like this is not quite that cut and dry? Like the way to deal with spiritual abuse in a church. Should we be arresting people?
If it's illegal, absolutely. Yeah. It should be police before you talk to any other church leaders. A crime is a crime is a crime.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if it is with a child or anything like. If it is a crime and you are covering it up, you are aiding and abetting a criminal.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care how nice of a person they are. They apparently aren't 100% nice. Right? They've got their wool over somebody's eyes. And it is not our job as a church congregation or even as church leaders to do the investigation to see if it's valid to go to the police.
Yeah.
Right? If it is something that someone's being accused of, that's a crime. It's not our job. We're not equipped. That's why they have investigators. If it's a false accusation, which is the biggest fear, they'll figure that out.
Yeah. Well, and often spiritual abuse is connected with sexual abuse, financial abuse. Yeah.
Well, I read a story recently. One of the gentlemen I went to seminary with got arrested for child sexual abuse. He was a pastor. The church members were trying to reach out to him in jail to comfort him. Where the attorneys had to say, you can't be doing this.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So sometimes there's such a hold in we need to forgive. And I need to comfort this, person who did something awful. But what message is that sending to the person who's hurting in their family?
Yeah.
You're going to pick the abuser over them. And that happens so often. Yeah. Even if it's, someone who's divorcing their spouse and they're just regular church members, and you're going to choose the abuser over. You're going to punish the victim for coming to church, and it's awful.
Yeah. I know this is happening with somebody I know where the husband has been abusive to the wife and he's up in leadership. He's not the pastor or anything, but the church is believing his narrative over the wife and the children.
And that is spiritual abuse.
Yes. Yes. And I am not one to think that we should go in the punitive direction. But the harm that this causes is so worth like talking about over and over again so we can see what it is, so we can, not let that be a part of our,
Right. And the more you talk about it and the more you bring it up, the easier it is, right?
Yeah.
It will become standard place to be like, hey, today is abuse awareness. Hey, let's all learn together. We all make mistakes. We were all taught these things that no longer serve us.
Right.
How can we relearn how to be in community together?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because sometimes it is an unintentional hurt.
Right.
Sometimes it's, oh, wow, I totally need to shift my thinking about something. Or it is, hey, we need to take a class in empathy.
Yes. Yes.
We need to take a class in bystander awareness. As a congregation, so we can call these out because they do need to be called out.
Yeah.
And not hidden and not poked away.
Or minimized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you can't love an abuser and find a way for care for them? Great, but not at the same place. It's like having couples counseling together with a couple that's being abusive to one another. You got to have your own first.
Yeah.
You're not ready for that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a time for that.
Right.
After both entities are healed or taking accountability for whatever.
Anytime you make that sides, it can be really difficult.
Yes. And often it's the, like the side of the charismatic person or the leader that tends to get the more majority.
Or we have to love the sinner, so we need to make sure that they feel loved. And then you're ignoring the person they hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so damaging for the victim. So would you say that not calling it spiritual abuse would be like a form of bypassing, because abuse is like this harsh word and it makes people feel uncomfortable talking about it? But if it's something that's truly causing harm and trauma, why shouldn't we call it for what it is?
So I think one of the reasons, I do think it's bypassing because it is abusive and painful. And just because something's not criminal doesn't mean it's not abusive, right?
Yeah.
But when we call something abuse, that means that we need to act, right? Because we all feel, as far as I know, that abuse is unethical and unhealthy, right? So then I have to take a long, hard look, and admit my part in the spiritual abuse. So if I called it out and it's happening and I know these people or I'm somehow involved or complicit in it, whether it was intended or not, I need to look, is this a system I need to change? I'm a part of this system that made this possible, that's letting it happen. Where does the change need to be? And that requires us examining our beliefs sometimes, our traditions, our culture, this is the way we've always done it. And that's hard work.
Yes. Yes.
Confronting yourself in the mirror. Sometimes we do it because we have that misplaced loyalty to institution or the charismatic leader. And so we think that if we hold them accountable, it's going to make it to the news, and then what are people going to think? And then they're going to lose their faith because we have to defend faith. That's not our job.
Yeah.
I would think that if I took part and admitted there was abuse and did something to rectify the situation, that would show a greater compassion and faith than ignoring it. To say, we can deal with the crap that happens, and we're going to call it crap and not of God.
Right.
I want to be a part of that church.
Right.
Than the one who's so afraid of, they're not going to believe in faith in God anymore if we tell them that we're human beings and we do these terrible things.
Yeah. Like the gig will be up.
Yeah. And then we don't have to change anything.
Yes. Let's just pretend it's not an issue. Pretend it's not there. what do you call that? The object permanence, like.
Oh yeah, I don't have object permanence. If I can't see it, it's not there.
So I'm just going to not even listen to it. I'm not going to acknowledge it. Yeah,
exactly.
Which is so damaging.
So, and part of that too. So, like one of the most overlooked ways I think that someone can be spiritually abused is when that system, like a closed system, declares divine authority and says, "Who are you to be saying this to me? Why do you think you're allowed to feel and think these things?"
Wow.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
For thinking this was yours to intervene in.
Yeah.
You're just a bystander.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of goes into the Darvo effect when people, when even we point the finger at our own selves, our own church or whatever, we just, we first go to denying it. And then we're just like, okay, well, who's to blame? Who's to blame? Who can I attack to blame? And then the reverse victim and offender aspect of Darvo is like, well, do we really want to deal with this because our church will be the victim of us being misrepresented, when in reality it's like everybody's dealing with this issue, and
we don't want to open a can of worms,
right
or hang out our dirty laundry, right?
Yeah, but they both smell. And they both need to be dealt with.
And so if you ignore it, it's going to stay stinking in the corner.
That's
versus
right.
if you hang it out, then you know that you need to clean it.
That's right.
Even if it takes someone else telling you, hey, did you realize that you missed a spot?
Yeah. I know for me, I mean, I'm an introvert. I'm a peace person. But at the same time, I got to the point where my silence was complicit. And so even though I am not articulate, even though I'm still learning how to do this podcast thing, I was like, I just got to start saying something, facilitating the talking of it. But
well, and there's a difference between peacekeeping and peacemaking.
Yes.
Peacekeeping is passive.
Yes.
And you have to ask yourself, I don't remember who said this. This is not my idea. Whose peace are you keeping?
Yep.
Versus peacemaking is very active.
Yes.
And it requires sacrifice.
Yes. Absolutely. And I was keeping the peace.
Well, that's what we're taught. We're taught to be peacekeepers.
Yeah. Which is so bizarre because peace is a good thing. But like when you actually break it down like that, it's like, yeah, peace is good, but that only happens because we take care of our infections,
right.
And our issues. And yeah, you had a great way of expressing spiritual abuse. Can you describe what that was? I remember when you said it, it was like, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So we are all spiritual beings, whether we have faith or not. I believe there is a part of us that, whether that's your spirituality of looking at the night sky, or you see divinity or greatness or something greater than yourself in your child's eyes, or whatever it is, or my cat's eyes, something like that. So we are all spiritual beings. We want to have connections, and whether we have faith or not. And so what would happen if you would say to someone who perpetrated religious abuse? So what would happen if you say to someone who perpetrated abuse, or if I suffered religious abuse, right? Yeah. You suggest that so I suggested that if you say I was abused spiritually, right? People look at that and be like, okay, I want to know what happened to you. I want, people get curious. They want to know the details. Is it really abuse? That sort of stuff, right? So let's dig into that abuse word because it's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So what if you said to someone, my spirituality was abused by what happened, by what you did. My soul was harmed and damaged by what you did. And so maybe if we changed from blaming, although the person should still be held accountable, to hearing that our heart is in pain.
Yeah.
Because it's not about, like, this is going to sound bad, but it's not bad. It's not about the specific abuse that happened, which is horrible, but what is the impact of that abuse?
Yes.
It's not that someone spiritually abused me. It's that my spirituality was abused.
Because even though they're both trauma, one is definitely can be more long-term trauma. This part.
And it's not the actual event. it's the ramifications of that.
Yes.
That's what we hold in our body.
Yes.
The fact that we hold it in our body means that something has shifted. What happened to me shifted what my life looks like internally.
So can you say that one more time? My spirituality was
abused by what you did. What the system has done to me abused my spirituality.
Yeah.
My soul was harmed. And is that something that people can really debate? This is my experience. And you hear that. It hurt my soul to hear that.
Yeah.
It hurt my soul for that to happen.
Yeah.
It broke my heart that you would do this. Or think I was worth having this done to me.
Yeah.
Right? It hurt my soul when you dismissed me as if my soul was meaningless.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Right?
Pretty much that's going from like blaming to actually hearing the heart, which in the end is what, we all need anyway. We're all in pain, but when we're in pain and we're projecting that on other people, it just, we damage each other. But
it's interesting in chaplaincy work.
Yeah.
One of the things they told us, so especially in a hospital setting, if you ask a patient how someone helped them did they feel that they were helped spiritually, right? Or were they given spiritual care? Often what they say is, someone listened to me. That's what made the difference. I was heard. I was listened to.
Wow. Seem like such small things, but they're huge, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a core spiritual intervention is active listening.
And we got to get better at that. We're pretty good about talking, but not necessarily about listening.
Yeah, because I'm forming my response.
Yeah, to react.
Right, because we're so reactionary.
Yeah.
And we're such a fast-paced world. What if we take 30 seconds and absorb what we just heard?
Well, the gentleman that I listened to about communication, he's absolutely awesome. He says, create a pause. Breathe in that pause. I think he says 5-6 seconds. But just take that time to formulate, or to regulate yourself before you move on. So I just thought that was powerful. But because, pain is real, and we definitely want to make sure everybody knows we're in pain, but that doesn't solve anything.
Right. And most of the time, no one can fix anything for you anyway.
Right. Speaking about pain, it truly is at the heart of spiritual abuse. And often that is a pain that we've handed down from generation to generation. We've talked about this earlier. So often not knowing what was happening in the past was abuse, but in our soul, we knew something was not right. Will our generation address it more than our previous generations? I hope so. How does generational trauma still loom over our churches and families?
I think it is still extremely relevant, especially if you have people who are multi-generational church members, or maybe you are part of a small congregation where it's basically a family church, and you got the patriarch and the matriarch and all the kids, adult children and their family and their kids and all that. If there's generational abuse, it can be ripe for the picking for it to become spiritual abuse. If there's some sort of emotional abuse in that family dynamic, because everyone's going to defend their family. And you're being taught, well, this happened to me, so this is the right way to deal with it or not, or this is the right thing to say or not, or this is the right standard or not. So I'm going to pass that down because that's all I know.
Wow.
It kind of goes back to my parents did the best they could, but they still messed up. You only know what you know. So if all you know is to speak to someone in a spiritually abusive way, then that's all you're going to know. You don't know any better.
Yeah.
And I think this generation, the fact that we're even talking about it.
Yes, that's huge.
And there's conferences about it. There's podcasts. There's therapists who specialize in spiritual abuse. I think we're realizing how essential it is.
Yeah.
Even as people are becoming more spiritual and less religious. And people are leaving churches. They still know that there's something spiritual inside them.
Yeah, because we're spiritual beings.
Because we're spiritual beings.
Yeah.
So we're getting better and better, period, in our culture about talking about trauma and generational trauma and wanting to break those cycles.
Yeah.
So of course that's going to take in spiritual abuse.
Okay.
I think I mentioned too at one point that because of the way the Seventh-day Adventist Church was so a part of my family, its own culture and its own family system,
Totally.
It became an outer enmesh layer of my own family system. So that factors into the generational trauma, because that's like in your enmeshed family system that's getting carried over and over and over.
Right.
Just, hey, that church system, that's like my grandpa or my mom or my dad. And they kind of get thrown in that, even if it's an entity, not a person. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You don't always think of it that way, but when you're spending so much of your time during the week with that family, not only your base family, but the church family. So earlier you mentioned a quote by the authors David Johnson and Jeff Van Vonderen from their book, The Subtle Power of Spiritual Abuse. And the quote was, "The ones who perpetrate spiritual abuse on others are just as trapped in their unhealthy beliefs and actions as those they knowingly or unknowingly abuse." How do you interpret the idea that perpetrators of spiritual abuse can also be trapped? And I know we talked a little bit about this earlier, but what does that mean to you in the context of your own personal journey?
That helps me give grace. And to those that I see. So if I say, okay, this person, I think totally dismissed me, try to minimize me. But if they're trapped in the system and they don't see it, I can have mercy and grace and be like, wow, I don't have to accept what they're saying.
Right.
I can keep calling it out, but I can have empathy and compassion and understand why they can't understand me.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Again, that doesn't mean that I have to have a restored relationship with these people or that part of the system or whatever it is, but I can know where they're coming from and say, I'm not going to carry what they just threw at me because they're trapped too.
Yeah. It really indicates that you're looking at the humanity rather than the system. Because in the end, the system doesn't, it's just another man-made entity. And it's really about, what humans, how we care for each other.
Yeah, because if I became reactionary and didn't have that compassion, I'm the same back to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And many of the things you've walked through may be able to be helpful for them. But if you are pushing up against that because, they're still stuck in the system and they don't get it, then they don't get any opportunity to grow like you have, or vice versa. That's good. Do you think those who engage in spiritual abuse are aware of how their behavior affects others, or do they genuinely believe they're helping or guiding you? I know we talked a little bit about that in the last question, but can you speak just a little bit more about, like, do they really feel like they're helping or guiding you?
I think for the vast majority who are trapped, they really think that they're helping. It's, I want to make things smoother for you. This is what I had to go through, and I had to learn how to make myself smaller to fit in. So I'm going to help you make yourself smaller to fit in. And these are
survival tips.
These are survival tips.
Yeah.
Whether they're relevant. They think that they're guiding. They think that they're providing the way. Maybe you didn't know about this rule. This is what it should be. And so I think they really think that they're helping. But there are also those when they're a narcissist, they need power to hold over someone else. They only care about their twisted needs.
Yeah.
So they don't care about helping or guiding. They're out for themselves.
Yeah.
So there are those, and those are the people who are intentionally harming.
Yes.
Right? Yes. They're not trapped by the system. They're preying on those who are trapped in the system.
And that makes it hard if people aren't necessarily going to change, but if you can get to the people that are trapped and show them not necessarily the exit to the door of the church, but the exit to this trappedness of lack of freedom.
And I would think that I would have a different reaction of how I choose to interact with people who are preying on those in the system, and that's their intent. And I'm going to react one way to them, right? And they're going to do what they want to do, probably ignore me, whatever, spread false rumors, whatever they want to do to shut me down, right? And if I act as assertive, that's probably the wrong word. If I act in the same manner to someone who thinks that they're helping as someone who I know is a narcissist and is all about preying on other people and about power. Mm-hmm. And if I think everyone who comes at me has that view, that is quick, bitter, jaded. I'm not looking for the good in anybody anymore. Yeah. Nothing they tell me I'm going to take in at all. Maybe there is something good in what they're saying. They're just saying it in a horrible way, right? But if I say, the second you open your mouth, I'm shutting you down because all spiritual abusers are the same. Yeah. I have no grace for you. It traps me. Yes.
Yes. So I know in my conversation with the cult expert, Dr. Yanya Lalit, she explained that if you were in a cult and have left, that you have to forgive yourself because in a cult, everyone becomes a perpetrator. It's the only way to survive in that environment. She said that cult members are trained and indoctrinated to do that to each other. This sense of being a perpetrator is really hard for people to accept when they leave that environment. That was powerful to hear. Mm-hmm. Perpetrators. I mean, because we don't always think about our inactivity or our compliance or our good intentions as being a perpetrator. But sometimes when you get to know more about what's actually harmful, you do better.
And it can be the idea of maybe I was a perpetrator because I was silent. And in that case, silence was siding with oppression or silence was violence, right? Yes. It could be, wow, I need to forgive myself because I was indoctrinated to think these things. Yeah. I remember hearing one time this idea of when you see somebody and you have an initial judgmental thought, and then you have a second thought and it's very different. The first thought might be your indoctrination, and the second thought is what you really think.
Interesting.
And I would see this all this time where I would go to church and I would see somebody and they've got big earrings or a tattoo or whatever. I was like, oh, wow, they can do church like that? Yeah. And then I'm like, wait, I am too. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's that I acknowledge my indoctrination is the go-to. That's the knee-jerk reaction. Mm-hmm. But let me stop. Is that really what I think?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so hard to unlearn those things.
Yeah. Because they've been well practiced.
Right. And then you have to forgive yourself. Be like, wow, how many people have I felt that way or said that to or done this thing before I learned that's not really what I believe?
Yeah. Yeah. Because even you, like you say, you're still dealing with bouts of bitterness and anger. If you don't take care of that issue with yourself, those emotions plus, you not taking care of that part are just going to cause you to do the same attacking back.
Right. And it'll also be something that is self-destructive to my own spirituality. And then I become an abusive person to myself.
Yeah. 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 Wow.
We're just all screwed.
Vicious cycle. Oh, is it possible to address spiritual abuse without demonizing the abuser? What does accountability look like in such cases?
I think this is when we go again to the root of what the abuse is and then what it spirals into. Okay. We can acknowledge that the abuser is stuck in their abuse as well. Yeah. Right. And accountability is about having loyalty to the spirituality of ourselves and others, not to an institution or a specific leader. Mm. So it means having consequences. Maybe that position is vacated. Maybe it's having the hard conversations saying, hey, you're going to need a chaperone wherever you go somewhere, or we're going to need, we're going to do a respect this restraining order or whatever it is. It's allowing doubt and critical thinking. So I'm not going to shut you down.
Yeah.
And we're going to learn how to have conversations instead of how to have monologues in discussion.
Yeah. And that is actually harder to do than just conforming, right? These are not easy things to do.
It requires a ton of trust.
Yes.
And a ton of vulnerability.
Yep. Patience. And so, we talked about the cage, the box, the trap. How can acknowledging these forms of capture pave the way for true healing and growth? Like dealing with, okay, I was trapped, but now I'm free. Like that concept of where I started and getting out and feeling like you are actually healing.
I think part of it is, at least for me, once I saw the cage, it's really hard to unsee it. And you see it everywhere. Kind of like, hey, I drive a green Corolla. Everywhere I go, I see green Corollas.
Yeah.
You're not going to notice it.
Yeah.
Because that's not what's on your mind. That's not what you drive. You don't see that similarity. But once you see this cage, you can see how it is. And maybe without judgment, maybe with. I went and saw comedian Taylor Tomlinson, right? And she was talking about Noah's Ark and how we make this a beautiful story for our children, right? You got these fluffy animals, it's all over the internet. But it's a story. Yes, God saved these people, but he also wiped out everybody else who said no or who didn't say yes. Yeah. It's not that they didn't say yes, right? And, I'm not going to get into the theology of all of that.
Sure.
But our comfy story for our children is that God flooded creation. And we don't have that discussion.
No.
And so what does that set up for kids? This loving God floods the earth without giving context, without, as they grow up and keep telling this story and let's learn and let's dig it out and let's critically think about this, right? So then, okay, so I'm indoctrinating kids to do this.
So I think definitely when they're younger, and they can't think abstractly, they are more black and white. You can understand a story like that, but they're constantly growing. Their brains are growing. They're getting more and more independent thought. And I think that's something that I don't think we acknowledge. And because we don't, we just keep that childhood story going.
Yeah, we keep it in the box.
Yes. And we keep it at a certain...
we kind of keep it at a certain intellectual level.
Yes. That's what I was trying to say. And that doesn't allow us to grow at all. It kind of keeps us
it
immature,
gets us
spiritually mature.
It keeps us in with the system of pat answers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because there are difficult things in the Bible. There are awful things.
That we need to acknowledge.
Yeah. I remember we were doing something where we were reading through the book of Judges when I was a kid, but you weren't supposed to read certain chapters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because how do you explain those to 10 and 12-year-olds?
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't leave them out because they will find them.
Right.
And you will be the one that they'll come to and they say, why'd you leave the story out?
Like, oh, well, you're too young to understand.
Yeah.
That's what we get, right?
Yeah. Yeah, shoot. Which doesn't go over well, usually.
Right. Yeah.
So how can victims of spiritual abuse navigate their healing journey while acknowledging the humanity of their abusers?
Therapy. Support groups.
Yeah.
More and more we're seeing support groups and therapy that are specially crafted for people who are undergoing spiritual abuse. Spiritual direction. That's something that I do, and it helps me evaluate, what do I believe? Why do I believe it? How is my spiritual walk going? What do I need to do to fill myself? Acknowledging the humanity of the abuser does not mean ignoring or bypassing the abuse. Often we think it's one or the other. Oh, you're a human. You made a mistake. Whoopsie. Right? Yeah. It's not that. There's still a need for accountability. Yeah. And we might not get it from the abuser. They may never apologize. They may never admit to it. They may never change. And we may have to then distance ourselves And that's the accountability too.
Yeah.
Because of what you did to me, I can no longer be in your presence.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the accountability.
Yeah.
Right. And that's okay. And even if, we get to the place of forgiveness, I keep going back to this. Forgiveness does not require restoration of relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And that often plays into that tendency for us to feel like we have to be loyal to something, have to be loyal to a church, have to be loyal to a person because they were a fellow church member. But if they are toxic, if they have harmed, that's, no.
Well, think you do little kids, right? Little kid smacks another little kid.
Yeah.
Say you're sorry and give each other a hug.
Yeah. Yeah.
As if that was enough.
That skips so many steps too.
And I think, again, this generation is more of, hey, it's okay if we're estranged.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to make these boundaries for myself and my own healing and my existence.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
It may make you uncomfortable because you don't get to have the power you had.
Yes.
But it's not about you.
Yes. Yes. It's not really.
No, it's all about me.
I know I have someone that I met at a conference, and they are a pastor themselves, and they have started a nonprofit for educating churches to become trauma informed. And I just think that's so powerful. I hope that continues to go well. I'm hoping to have her actually talk on this podcast also. So
right, because much of the trauma that we experience, even if it's not in church, it's going to show up there. It's going to go with you wherever you're at.
Right. And sometimes when we least expect it, it shows up because. And one of her phrases is that church body keeps score. Like, not only do our body keep score, but it will show up at church. Yeah. How can communities create safe spaces to address spiritual abuse without demonizing or excusing the perpetrators? How might this idea that perpetrators are also trapped be misused to justify or minimize harmful behavior? And how can we guard against that?
Well, I think it's going back to, again, what you said with your friend that you met. Get informed.
Yeah.
What does trauma look like? What does it look like to be trauma informed? What does it look like to show up for other people? What does it look to be humble enough to say, what is my part? Right? Once you know better, you can do better.
Education is so powerful, isn't it?
Yeah. Learning. And sometimes that's how we do our healing, by studying spiritual abuse or studying this or studying that so that we can be better versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
And learn how to bravely show up.
Yeah. Yeah. As we wrap up, can you share how you found the freedom to step away from conforming to others' ways of thinking, be yourself, while also having the courage to not be defined by rebellion?
I think part of it is just very much my hugely supportive family and friend group who have loved me for who I am, not in spite of who I am. Because in spite of means there's something wrong.
Yeah.
But love me for who I am, who support me, who tell me that my voice is important, who encourage me to stand up for others, and who don't let me wear that label of rebel. Who are like, hey, no, this is not who you are. You're not a rebel. You are Kristy, someone who cares.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that about you.
Yeah.
How can I encourage you and empower you?
Yeah.
If that means, you're going to spend a week on my couch because you're trying to figure out how to pay for your new apartment because now you lost your job or you can't work in that system anymore, then that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right. But to me, it's the outside support, people who saw me as me. Often, again, I said, it's people outside my faith tradition who were giving me the support, people who have no faith tradition of their own supporting me. That's what has helped me.
So why do you think sometimes the outside gets what the inside maybe doesn't even see and is doing?
Because the outside doesn't have the box. They may have a different box, but it's not the same box that someone else is trying to get me to fit in. They don't need me to amputate a part of myself to fit anything, because there's nothing to fit. So for them, the box doesn't exist. Okay. But as long as you focus on the box and not the person's never going to fit.
Yeah. Unless you cut off that toe.
Yeah.
You mentioned that I know people have words for the year, and you mentioned that your word for 2025 was remember. Would you be open to sharing that word in the context of all that we've talked about today?
So for me, I want to remember who I am. I think that, all the trauma that we go through in our lives changes us in some way or another. It might change our thought patterns. It may take away our memories. And so I'm thinking back and trying to remember who I am. Who was I, in my 30s? What part of that did I like about me? Who was I in my 20s? Who was I as a kid? The pieces that I remember, because I don't have a lot of memories from when I was a child. What do I remember that brought me joy? What did I remember that resonates with me? Where did I feel most safe? Where did I feel most creative? What does creativity look like? These things that I used to love that feel like a lifetime ago. What happens if I focus my energy there?
Wow.
And remember who I was before trauma gave me a detour.
Wow. That's powerful. That's powerful. How has that made the difference?
It's allowed me to not be judgmental about what I do or don't do. It's allowed me the grace of experimentation. So I don't have to be good at something right away, which is huge for me.
Yeah.
If I'm not good at it, then why do it?
Yeah.
I'm one of those perfectionists. I need to be automatically good at something. Otherwise it's not worth it. So yeah, do that. It's, hey, let me be curious about learning about this thing. Is that something that I want? Is that something that connects with me? Maybe not. What happens if I let me reframe. I like doing collage. I'm like, oh, but that's not art. Yes, it is. That's creativity. So that's kind of it. Some of it is, hey, Mom, Dad, what was it like when I was 5 years old? Tell me a story. What stuck out to you that was positive? Not the negative parts.
Yes.
Don't tell me I was whiny. Yeah. But, tell me. And then that could be something to listen to for. What conditioning were you told? Oh, I was too sensitive as a kid. But was I?
Yeah.
Was I adequately sensitive to the situation that was going on and you just didn't understand because of your own family trauma? So maybe remembering and relearning past experiences too through other people's eyes and reflecting now, knowing as much as I know.
Yeah, because sometimes when you relive those in your mind, you see other things that you didn't see back then. So sometimes it's great to reprocess those. Yeah. Wow. What do you believe has helped you to break free from the expectation of others, find a sense of belonging, speak out against spiritual abuse, and rediscover a renewed, authentic spirituality for yourself?
Again, this is something that I'm constantly working on.
Yeah.
I think the expectations of others is a huge one for me because there is that people pleaser. I want people to like me. I'm still learning that I don't need to prove my worth or my value, whether it be for my job or a friendship or whatever. And some of that is, getting anxious walking into a room with people I don't know because I don't know what their expectations are for me. So that's still something I struggle with. For a sense of belonging, I surround myself with people who already know who I am and I already belong with. So I'm constantly in touch with my college friends, the family that understands me. And again, when I get the validations of me as a chaplain doing my job, and maybe someone like paid a compliment to my bosses, or they're like, oh, wow, this, I did a blessing of the hands recently. That ceremony was really beautiful, really meaningful. That I'm like, yeah, so me just showing up as me is making a difference.
Yeah.
So hearing that validation from someone, I still need outside validation, makes a difference.
Yeah.
And makes it easier to keep doing it that way and keep trusting myself. I think for speaking out against abuse, there was something raised in me. I use my voice. I speak out. I call it out. I'm getting braver and braver with it. Again, because the church has no power over me. They could not like anything I'm saying right now, but they don't hold my livelihood.
But even your friends, you have this group of friends that allows you to belong. You don't agree with all of them on everything. I'm guessing, because iron sharpens iron. Friends, really help us grow and stuff. And I'm imagining that
and
many of them are.
So they can call out to, hey, you're not being your authentic self here.
Yeah. Wow.
Where did you go?
Yeah, that's incredible. To have friends like that.
And doing it in a nice way. So some of my friends, we like to use I wonder if. So I wonder where this is coming from, or I wonder what it would look like if you did this. So not quite advice, but again, it's bringing that curiosity into it and seeing other people speak out and be curious. And your podcast has been amazing. And even just sharing it, like I share it on my Instagram or whatever, that's speaking out. It doesn't have to be a huge thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is. And sometimes I do get the opportunity to call something out from the pulpit every once in a while. But it's something that is near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
And so that makes it easier.
Yeah.
Especially where it's not, I don't have to be quiet in order to get a paycheck.
Right. And it's amazing the doors it can open for you, for other people's hearts, for them to share something to you, they may not even know you that well, but you've given them a space to share that and to walk through that with.
And I think that helps renew and empower my authentic spirituality by letting you be authentic in yours and seeing that.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
Well, what's one piece of advice that out of all we've talked about today that you would have loved to have heard when you were younger, told to you by yourself, by your later self?
Trust yourself. Your voice matters, whether they hear it or not. So, don't minimize yourself. Don't silence yourself.
What about the advice that your grandfather gave, to know what your value system is?
So knowing my value system, even when I didn't consciously know it. Be driven by that. So that's part of trusting yourself. I trust the value system that is in me to help guide me. Whether that's might need extra questions and that, but trust yourself, because if something feels off, it's probably off. And so what would it be like if you shared, this is off? Found someone.
Are you talking about intuition?
Yeah, I guess some people call it intuition, trusting your gut. Even if it's, hey, look, this person is not treating me the way that I want to be treated. I'm 10 years old. I can trust an adult. And maybe they don't believe you, right? But keep trying.
Yeah.
Tell it's something, talk about it. Do not let yourself be silenced. You don't need to suffer alone.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. Hey, I really want to thank you for being so honest and open today. You've shown how universal our feelings are, even when our experiences differ. And you reminded me that suppressing emotions only delays healing, and that holding on to our spirituality, despite outside control, is essential. I have one last question. Can you directly speak to that person out there that is perhaps really resonating with your personal experience, who wants an authentic faith, but has been so wounded or marginalized by their church experience. What encouragement could you share with them that might give them a sense of hope and true belonging?
It's not only you. You are not the only person this is happening to. There are other people out there who are hurting just like you. See if you can find each other.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for being willing to share your story. I mean, that's not easy. You're placing your vulnerability out here. You have beautifully captured the challenges holding on to your identity, your autonomy, your critical thinking, and spirituality in a highly controlled religious environment. While I'm sorry for the emotional toll, I am inspired by the wisdom that has kept you free and true to yourself in your journey toward authentic faith. I read a quote that often gets attributed to Mother Teresa. I've seen it's been attributed to other people, but one of the people that was attributed to was Mother Teresa, and since a lot of people know who that is. But the quote goes like this: God does not ask for your silence in exchange for belonging. True faith gives you a voice, not a muzzle.
Amen.
That was powerful to me. And what really resonated for me here is that you trusted your voice, even though it was very difficult when you're younger, and you've grown that voice and you've not allowed yourself to be muzzled. And I hope that's an inspiration to other people. So thank you for giving voice to a path many have traveled, and I hope your experience resonates with somebody today. This has been Kristy Hodson.
With the original Kristy Hodson.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Soul Bruises podcast. And as always, remember how important it is to
be human,
be kind,
be both.